Well, hello everyone and welcome. This is Jeanette Casella, and we're here for our International Association of Professional Life Coaches monthly coaching call. And today we have a special guest that's going to be speaking to us and answering all your questions. And her name is Michelle Schubnel. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, happy to be here. Welcome, everyone.
And before we get started, I just want to tell you a little bit about Michelle because she has really helped thousands of coaches around the world attract new clients and increase their income through leveraging their business. And she's going to talk to us a little bit today about how she does that. But she's been in the coaching field for a long time. She's a very active member of the ICF and is a great speaker. She speaks all over, including at ICF conferences, and look, it says European conferences too, in Brussels, Belgium, Helsinki. So we have a real celebrity here with us today. And she's going to talk to us about how she leveraged her business so that she could make 6 figures a year just working 6 hours a month. Yeah, I just have to, right? It's like an opening up like 35 minutes. Is that right, Michelle?
Yes, ma'am.
Hard to believe. I almost said week, but then I said, wait a minute, I know it's unbelievable, but it's month.
Before we go on, Janet, can you mute everybody?
Okay, but then I have to unmute.
But just unmute Michelle.
So.
And you can leave me unmuted. I'll mute myself. Or I can just wave if I need to say something.
Everybody. Great. So today we want to talk about how you did it. I'm just getting my notes here. So so you are the expert on group coaching, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So tell us a little bit about how you came to be the expert.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. And I'd also love to just, for those of you that are here live, I know a lot of people listen to the recordings of these kinds of calls, but for the coaches that are here live, I know we've got the chat box. I'm just curious, how many of you are currently coaching groups? And if you're not coaching groups, is that something that you are interested in? So I'd love to see that. So if you could type that into the chat box. I am such a proponent of coaches being able to offer a group coaching program. And my personal story is I quit my full-time job in 2000 struggled initially to fill my practice, even though my background was sales and marketing. It's surprisingly different selling a multi-million-dollar software system and your own services for a couple $100. I used to sell big ticket software items, and I thought, oh, selling my own coaching for $100, a couple $100 is going to be a piece of cake. And it was a lot harder than I thought. So I ended up taking a business building program specifically for coaches, and that turned things around for me. It was one of those you don't know what you don't know kind of things. And I filled my practice, and about a year later, I met the founder at an ICF conference. And long story short, we ended up becoming business partners in bringing the Coach and Grow Rich client attraction and enrollment system to thousands of coaches worldwide, as Jeanette said. So we've been teaching the Coach and Grow Rich system since 2002. And then, things were humming along. My practice was full. I thought that's what I wanted. And it was what I wanted at the time. But then my mom was diagnosed with bone marrow cancer. And I live in California. I was in San Francisco at the time. I'm now over in Oakland. And she was on Long Island, New York, which is where I grew up. And so I was so grateful that I didn't have my software sales job, because I was able to fly back and forth almost once a month and spend anywhere from a week or 2 weeks there to be with her and support her and drive her to her appointments and all that. But I was so busy coaching my clients that I wasn't really there for her the way that I wanted to. And so I just realized that as much as I love one-on-one coaching, I wanted to have a much more leveraged business model because I wanted more time to spend with my mom, and I wanted to keep my income going. Like, I needed to still support myself. And so I literally made the switch. At the time, I was charging $500 a month for one-on-one coaching. And I was working with a great coach at the time. And we're like, you know what? Switch the business model, keep the price the same, and just run group programs. And so that's what I did. And I ended up getting 7 people in my first group and 11 people in my second group. And I ran them for 6 months. And we met 3 times per month, the first 3 weeks of the month. The calls were an hour long. And so that was coaching 6 hours a month to earn 6 figures. That's how I did that. I did, there's work outside of the actual time you're coaching your clients, but the actual amount of time I spent coaching was 6 hours a month. Now I've added other things to my business. So I'm working more than 6 hours and I'm making more than that, just the $100,000. But, as a coach, if you're really wanting to be able to serve so many more people and also get rid of that income ceiling that happens if you're just working with clients one-on-one. There's just only so many people we can serve privately. There's only you can only keep increasing your fees so much until you hit resistance. So I'm just loving how, I'm such a big believer that as a coach to really have as well-rounded and as rewarding and as lucrative of a business as possible, it totally makes sense to run groups. And I see I am Newsome, not doing them, but wants to do it in the future. So awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And so Jeanette, I know you actually have been shifting over and doing more groups. I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about like the benefits, like why,
Yes.
like besides for just, okay, you can make more money in less time, but what are some of the other reasons that are benefits for coaching groups?
Well, yes, I just have gone through Michelle's program and started my first group just this year. I had tried to start groups before and I just didn't have enough know-how, to know how to do it, to market it and all that. And Michelle's course really put it all together for me so that I could actually go out and start a group. And the main thing the first thing that comes to mind was that it was so much more fun to have this group of people. And of course, for me, I run an association, so I already am kind of a person that likes to run groups of people. I can organize people. It's a good talent for me. But I really was able to shine by running this group, but also it seemed to bring out a lot more in the other people than it did privately. So this group, about a third of the people were my private clients who I let take the group course with the others. And it was just different. The whole interaction with these private clients was much more lively, and they just were able to shine a little more with the other people interacting with them. So those are the top things that I noticed in running my group.
I'm so glad that you shared those 2 things because I couldn't agree more. I think running group programs, it's more fun in general than private one-on-one coaching. And while there are certain things that you need to do in a group format that's different than private one-on-one coaching, if you're a coach and you have coaching skills and you learn these couple of key things that you need to do differently in a group setting versus working with a client one-on-one, coaching a group in some ways I think is actually easier than coaching a private client. Like, have you ever been working with a private client and they're kind of stuck and you're trying to come up with that perfect coaching question and you feel that pressure, on yourself as the coach?
Yeah.
Well, here's this great, you probably do this in your group, Jeanette, and it's one of my favorite tips is there is so much wisdom in a group setting. And so if you're doing laser coaching with one of the participants in your group and you ask 1 or 2 questions and it's not landing, you've got this whole other, all these other people that can support their client and even you as the coach. Like, okay, well, who else has had this experience? Like, does anyone have a piece of feedback they'd like to give to Sue or a coaching question for Sue? So it really actually can make the coaching so much easier. And you're 100% right, Jeanette, about the group environment. I personally believe that in general, a group environment is going to support people in taking more action, bigger risks, and just being more accountable because there's a big difference, right? If we make a commitment to our one-on-one coach that we're probably paying a lot of money for, if we come back to that next coaching session and we didn't do what we said we're going to do, we're going to get coached, so we'll discuss why I didn't do it and, renegotiate a new commitment. It's very different if you're on a group program. And let's just make up an example. Like in the week between week 2 and week 3, the assignment is people need to make 5 phone calls to people that they think could be a potential client. And they commit to doing it at the end of week 2. Okay, we're going to see you week 3. And in the Facebook group or however you're communicating with your participants between your weekly calls, you're checking in and people are, oh, I made my 2 calls today. I've got 3 more to do before, our next group session. And then they come on that group session. It's a lot harder to show up in this group session where you're with your peers and people that you're starting to build relationships with and be like, yeah, I'm a loser, I didn't do it. Like people take more action when there's more of that external accountability. And so that's another, thing that just I see in group programs all the time. And it is just such a great benefit of coaching groups. And the last one that I just want to throw out there, and then we can kind of talk a little bit more about things you need to do to be successful with groups, is for most coaches, your group coaching program is your more affordable option. Now, while there's a wide variety of group coaching models, and I actually have a bunch of free group coaching resources that I'm making available over the course of the next 2 weeks, and Jeanette has a link that we're going to share with you. The first thing that you can get your hands on right now, it's a download called Your Lucrative and Leveraged Coaching Business. And in that I share the story of my mom that I told you, and I outline the 5 key steps you need to take when you first make the decision to coach group. The second free gift is called the 3 most proven and profitable group coaching models. And so I actually identified 7 main group coaching models, but 3 tend to be the main most profitable ones. And so most coaches have their group program as their more affordable way of working together. This is not always the case, because the third of the group coaching models is what I call the big ticket, high commitment, year-long mastermind. And so if you're offering something like that, that would typically be your highest ticket item. But for most coaches, your group is, could either be a quick and easy group, a 4 to 6 week group. It could be a longer group coaching program, about 3 months, 8 to 10 weeks. There are a variety of different models, but in general, it's a way for people to say yes to working with you without investing as much as they would do for your one-on-one. And so, like in my example, I was charging $500 per month for my private coaching. I'm like, that's going to be the price for my group. That's the main way that I wanted people to work with me. But then, of course, what did I do? I upped the price for my private coaching. So I filled my 2 groups. That was the main thing I focused on. But then, I would have an occasion. I wasn't actively even trying to get private clients, but some people would come in and say, the group time doesn't work with me. Not everyone wants to work in a group setting. I think about 80% of people really prefer the groups, and about 20% of people naturally like the private attention. So I raised my fees, bumped it up to $1,000, and then kept raising my private fees since then. So it's a group. The other big benefit of group programs is it's a way for you to serve and support more people, make your coaching more affordable, and have your one-on-one rates be a more lucrative part of your coaching business.
Yeah, I think that's really such a great benefit for all the people who, come to you and just can't afford coaching, especially like new coaches. That's, the group programs are just perfect for people just starting out. They don't have an income. They're, on a tight budget, and they need help. And so this is a way that can help them.
And certainly knowing your target market and how you want to serve them and what is going to be the right way to support your clients. And, the other thing I was just thinking about with that group environment is that is one of the reasons why clients tend to get better results in a group is I think the group environment really normalizes the challenges that people have. You know what I mean? Like if you see other people are going through the same situation that you are, you realize, oh, I'm not the only parent that has, a problem with my child, or, oh, I'm not the only single person that hasn't yet found the love of my life, or, oh, I'm not the only one that's struggling with growing my business or losing weight or whatever it is that you coach on. So being able to have that connection with the other people in the program and realize you're not alone, you're not the only one that's having these issues or challenges, it's a way to really normalize it and help people be able to move forward a lot more quickly.
Yeah, and just have a bigger impact, you know, with your whole business.
Yeah. So I thought maybe we could, you know, go through pretty quickly. I mean, we don't have a ton of time today, no, but I've identified that there are 4 key areas you need to focus on to be successful with groups. And so let's go through those, and then we can see if there's any questions that you have, and then we'll be sure to share the link so people can get the free group coaching resources. So the first thing that you want to do, this is really key, is designing an irresistible group. And so there's 9 key factors that you need to consider when designing your group. And the 2 that I believe are the most important, and it's where a lot of people screw up with their group design, is identifying who the group is for and what the group is about. And, you know, as life coaches, I imagine that your members are probably in a variety of different places in their business. And I'm sure you probably have some life coaches that have a very specific target market and niche, and others that might have a broader focus in that life coaching arena. Is that true, Jeanette?
Yes.
So depending on, you know, where you are in that part of your business, if you're clear and specific about who you coach and what you coach on, your group would be for those same group of people on whatever it is that you focus your coaching on. If you're more broad, one of the key things that you want to do is make your group focused on achieving a specific outcome or result that your ideal clients want to achieve, and have it be really clear and obvious what that is, both in how you name your group and the description of your group. So that I think the thing that I see most when coaches go through my group coaching success program is the first thing we do, we spend 2 weeks on designing your irresistible group. And a lot of people come to those calls with group names that are, you know, blossom into your true self. Like, there's nobody that goes to sleep at night thinking, how the heck am I going to blossom into my true self? You know, and that particular coach was working with women in midlife that were unexpectedly needing to make a career change. So, you know, someone that had gotten laid off, someone that, you know, they weren't really planning on making a career change, but they were in this about 10 more years to work and need to make money. And now that they're back on the street and looking for work to do, they really want to do work that's meaningful and is purposeful and gives them the income to get to that retirement age. And so, and I wish I had my notes right in front of me, but we came up with a really great title that spoke specifically to that, like how to love what you do, finishing out your working years, blah, blah, blah. And as I said, I don't have that. We came up with a good title on
Sounds
the call.
a little more relevant.
It's more relevant, and it's what her ideal clients, what was actually keeping them up at night. And so that's just and that's something that's not always easy to come up with, but that is such a key thing for being successful with groups, is what that group's about, knowing who it's for, and having it be really obvious what the result or outcome your client will achieve in your program when they hear the title of your group, or at least the description of your group. So does that make sense?
Yeah, so the title is really important, and of course who you target too. And a lot of people sort of skip that and just, you know, try to start something. And I think that that's something that you probably can really help people with in your boot camp.
Yeah, for sure. That's something we spent a lot of time on. So that's, you know, and then the other factors around the design are like, how long is your group going to be? How many sessions? Is it going to be in person or by phone? Are you going to have an application or an interview process? There's all the details that you need to decide and think of and figure out in order to launch your group. So that's the first phase, designing your irresistible group. Then we get to step number 2, marketing. Woohoo! And the fact is, this is the thing that keeps most people from coaching groups, is their inability to fill them. So it starts with step number 1, right? You've got to first design that irresistible group. Then you've got to market to fill your group. And so I have two golden rules that I teach when it comes to marketing to groups. So the first one is, to fill your group, you must market to groups. right? And so it kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking to get a one-on-one client, you can go to a networking meeting, talk to that one perfect person, extend an invitation to have a complimentary coaching consultation, and boom, you can have a new client and it's all great. But if you're running a group program, depending on the size of the group that you would like to offer, you're looking to attract, 5, 8, 10, 20, 50, 100 people or more into your group program. So to do that, you want to market to groups. So that's the first golden rule. And then the second golden rule is to fill your groups, you have to campaign your group. And so big difference between effectively marketing a group and effectively marketing individual coaching is your marketing for your group needs to be more coordinated, right? Because you've got this group that's starting on a certain date. And so there are a series of activities that you want to do before your group starts to fill your group. So your marketing campaign could be things like doing literally this is what I did. I was doing speaking engagements when I was back when my mom had cancer and I switched my model. And I pretty much knew, like, I was speaking to groups of 20 to 30, that I would get between 10 or 15% of the room to sign up. And I was filling my groups by doing one-on-one sessions because it was a 6-month program. It was $500 a month. It was, a $3,000 investment for each person. And so I was doing complimentary consultations, and the offer was, here, join my group program. And if they didn't want to do the group, then I would make that private coaching available. But I would speak, and they were small association meetings. Didn't make the offer for the group right there because it wasn't that kind of environment. But I did get them to sign up for the consultation, and I signed people then up for my group that way. So there are a variety of different ways that you can campaign your group. Like I said, speaking is a great way. I'm also a big fan of doing teleseminars and webinars. In fact, that's in my 10-week group coaching success bootcamp, we do 2 virtual workshops. And the first one is on creating your signature coaching system, because that's actually another part of the design piece, which we didn't even get into. Question that always comes up is, how much content, do I need to have in my group coaching program? And the fact is, you get to choose. Now, some coaching groups are lower content, and other coaching groups are really hybrid training and group coaching programs. So it's up to you. You get to decide how much content you want to deliver. And most coaches want to have some, I recommend having some structure. Even if you're not delivering a ton of content, you need to have some type of a map that you're going to be following in a group program. Right. So our first virtual workshop, we help you create your signature coaching system, which becomes that foundation for your group coaching program. And literally one of the best ways to really get your system fine-tuned is by taking a group of people through it. So like if you were to go through my group coaching success program and you did that virtual workshop, you would leave there with a sense of, okay, this is my system. These are the main, steps or the process I would take my clients through. But then once you have that and you run a group of people through it, it's going to get fine-tuned in a way that's impossible from just working with clients one-on-one, because you'll see, where do people get stuck? What are the questions they ask? You're going to learn things from your clients. Like your system will get better based on, the things that your clients contribute in your group coaching program. That's the first one. And then the second virtual workshop we do is how to fill your groups with teleseminars and webinars, because education-based marketing, being able to give content and value and then make an offer, is really the heart of any good marketing campaign. And so I personally just love that teleseminar and webinar format. So that's, something we teach in the program as well. But when it comes to filling and marketing your group, those 2 golden rules are really key, that you want to keep them in mind. So to fill your groups, you got to market to groups, and to fill your group, you must campaign your group. And the good news is, it's true, creating that, like the first time that you're going to market your group, and if you sit down and be like, okay, I'm going to do a teleseminar or webinar, and I know that I've got to have, a bunch of emails between when my webinar happens and when my group starts so that people know about my program. And I'm going to reach out to a couple of joint venture partners and ask them if I could do this webinar for their community. So there'll be, those moving parts, things that you need to put in place. But the really awesome thing is, once you do it once, you can then you're basically repeating that marketing campaign, fine tuning as needed, but it gets easier every time you go to fill your group. So that's something that I've noticed and just so appreciate over the years, that every time I keep running my groups, they get better, they run smoother, and then the marketing gets easier and easier because you just create your campaign, fine tune it, use it again, add a couple of new pieces. So yes, you do still need to do marketing when you're running group programs, but it's a much more focused and concentrated effort. And personally, I like that. Like, I like to work hard and play hard. So it's like, all right, I'm going to market, do these things to fill my group. And it's like, whew, okay, group's filled. Now I can kind of take a break from the marketing and focus on some other things. And I know there's probably so many, things about marketing. And I guess the last thing that I would say is I think the best free thing that I offer over the next 2 weeks is my webinar called The 3 Mega Mistakes Most Coaches Make That Keep Their Group Programs Empty. And so I'm offering that 5 different times. So be sure to sign up for that. And I'll be doing live question and answer at the end of those trainings. So I would definitely recommend that you get your seat in that training, because I'll really go through in more depth the mistakes that these coaches make and what you can do differently so that you can fill your groups every time.
Great. And I'll just, I'll put this link for your blueprint here.
Yeah, so the link that Jeanette's going to put up in the chat box, that'll take you to the first video I have. It's a 3-part video series and the first of the download. So once you go and opt in there, we'll make sure you get all the other goodies as they're released.
Did it come up?
I am not seeing it in the chat yet.
All right, so.
And while Jeanette's doing that, shall I move on to the 3rd step after you design that irresistible group and market to fill your group?
I wanted to.
Or was there anything you wanted to share or ask about the marketing piece?
Yeah. When you were talking about marketing, I thought that I might want to interject that some people may be a little reluctant to do a group program because they think they have to do a launch, which it seems very daunting. And I think you may want to speak about this too, but you don't have to do one of these big launches like, the big boys do, big girls, that you can actually fill your group just by doing one-on-one talks with people that are in your network or a group that you're in or a forum. It can be very relaxed. It doesn't have to be,
it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be a big production.
Yeah.
And that's the thing about group programs too, that is so great. There are so many different ways that you can market them and fill them. Like Jeanette said, like one-on-one consultations that's how I filled my first groups. I was speaking and then I was doing consultations. I didn't even have a fancy sales page back then. When I was just getting people on the phone and sharing about the program and they were signing up that way. So it doesn't have to be, there's different levels. And that's actually one of the things that I really like to teach in my program is, basic, like what's the easiest, simplest way that you can do something? And then how do you take it more complex if you are, let's say, doing a larger group program and you've got joint venture partners promoting you? What are the things that you can have in place to have that work effectively as well? So but I'm really glad that you brought that up, Jeanette. Like, of course you need to do marketing, and you can create a simple marketing campaign that as long as you implement it, it will work. It can work.
Right. And the other thing that came to mind is that a lot of times you can just use content that you already have for your group program. So you could either use like your whole signature program as a group, or you could also take a part of it and just zero in with, a small group on accomplishing one piece, like creating an opt-in gift or creating your first webinar or whatever, that is just more of a focus thing. So that's true too. And also just because I know the chat doesn't come on the recording, let me just say what this link is here. It's tinyurl /
and it's tinyurl.com.
tinyurl.com / JKMS group. And that's, those are my initials and Michelle's initials. So.
Yeah, so at that, when you type into your browser tinyurl.com/JKMS group, that's the page where you'll be taken where you can start getting my free group coaching resources. So thanks for putting that in, Jeanette.
Okay, so you have another point.
Oh yeah, so let's go through the last two steps. So you've designed your irresistible group, you've marketed and you've filled your group. Well, what do you get to do next? You get to confidently coach your group. Woo! And as Jeanette said, and I said, this is fun. This is the funnest. This is the coaching my group. I love my group coaching calls. Like my husband knows when he comes home from work if I've had a group coaching call that day because I'm always like, oh, it's a great call, blah, blah, blah. And if it's a, if it's an office day where I'm just like, on the computer or on phone calls or whatever, I'm in a good mood, but it's very different. So coaching your group will be one of the funnest things that you do in your business. And the great news, as we've talked about, is as long as you already have coaching skills, it's not rocket science switching to group coaching. There are a couple things that you need to do differently, and so I'll just outline a couple of those. One, you need to have more structure for the group program, and that's what we've been talking about regarding the content and what's the focus of the group, right? Because if you're doing private one-on-one coaching, regardless of what that client hired you for, they can show up to a coaching session and you can end up coaching on anything, right? Like we meet the client where they are. In a group format, if you've got 5, 8, 10, 20 or more people, you can't just go wherever the group needs to go. Because if you have 20 people going in different directions, your group is not going to run well. So knowing what that focus is of your group and having a sense of I always think of it as at least you need to have a topic for each group coaching session. So when we talk about the fact that you can either have a lower content group or a higher content group, with that low content group, let's just come up with like an example of, time management. Like if you're a life coach, right? And so let's say you're a life coach and you want to help your clients be more productive. You might create a, 6 weeks to maximum productivity group coaching program. And you could know that in each week out of those 6 weeks, you've got one thing that you want to focus on. So like maybe the first week is about identifying your top priorities. Because if you know what your top priority is, you can focus on that and that'll help you be more productive. And then week 2 might be, making efficient to-do lists or whatever it is. You don't need to have a ton of training, right, on all of those things. If that first week, the topic was identify like what's most important to you, your priorities, that's the topic. You could come up with a couple of good coaching questions. Maybe you have a handout, maybe you don't. But it doesn't have to be some, big complicated thing. Now, of course, if you are doing more of the group coaching and training program, and maybe you've got a specific exercise that merits having a workbook and a handout in order for them to really get clear about what their top priorities are, you're certainly welcome to have that. And I personally like and recommend that when coaches are having more of a program, whether it's working with their private clients or group programs, that you do have something physical that you can give to your clients, whether it's a worksheet or a handout or a summary of the key points, because it takes what we do that's pretty intangible, right? Like we're sitting here, we're talking, like, yes, there will be the recording afterwards, but if you can give your clients like a piece of paper with some information on it, it increases the overall perceived value of what we do as coaches. And it's a way to just add some more value to our clients. But it doesn't have to be, like I said, this big complicated program. If anything, a mistake that I see coaches make is they have too much content and they try to have too much, they put too much into their group program, whether it's the overall, what the clients will accomplish, or in an individual session, because we are smart and we like to hear ourselves talk and we have a lot of valuable things to share. But oftentimes when it comes to content, less is more. So don't let that piece, stop you at all. And the other, I'd say, quick tip that I want to give you around how to confidently coach your group is how you start your group off really lays the foundation and sets the tone for how that group runs. So like in my program, I talk about how to set up ground rules and guidelines and what are the things to do in that first session so that, if there's an issue, if there's a problem, you've laid the foundation of how things will be addressed up front, and it makes running your group so much easier. So those are the 2 tips I wanted to share about how to confidently coach your group.
Wonderful.
Does that make sense, Jeanette? Do you have any other questions or tips or things that you've noticed when you've coached your group?
Yeah, no, everything that you said makes perfect sense, and makes more sense since I've done a group. We may have questions from people who haven't done one. And E.G., I thought maybe you might have some comments to make also from what Michelle has said. Any comments from you?
Oh.
Yeah, so
I think EG's internet, he must be in a bad bandwidth area.
yeah.
No, I love what we're saying about the give them to print out. I always give us. Oh, you cannot hear me?
Now we can hear you.
You cannot hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. I love what you said about giving something tangible to people. So I always give them fill in the blanks sheets. I give them checklists, and I tell them to print it out to create a binder. I create a cover image to put in a binder, and as I was, I thought I was messaging with you, Michelle, but I sent it to Jeanette. There's group coaching and group coaching. Like, how do you coach usually? Do you just coach, or do you have a set curriculum? Because I have a set curriculum, so I can give them checklists and I can give them exercises. That way I keep them engaged more. It freaks me out when, just doing coaching. In the beginning, I was doing that just plain coaching. I had like 6 to 8 people in a group, and I was just doing live coaching. But that after a while, it got very tiring.
Yeah, well, and that really speaks to the first point that we talked about designing that irresistible group, right? So it's like a coaching group does not work well if it's just like, yeah, we have a call once a week, come, and everyone's just going to get, we have 6 people, we have an hour, everyone's going to get 10 minutes of coaching, and it could be on anything. That does not make for an effective and a positive group coaching environment. So like one of the hallmarks of a good group coaching program or a coaching group is it's around a specific focus, right? So everyone that's in that group is going for that same goal or outcome. Of course, it'll look differently. One person's health and wellness, weight loss goals would be different than somebody else's, but that the same topic is applicable to all of the participants in your group. So that's totally key. And I do recommend having, some type of curriculum. It's just a question. I just don't want that to be what stops people. And like I said, oftentimes people spend way too much time creating all this content and handouts. It's like, know your topic, have a couple of questions, have a little fill in the blank, and leave more spaciousness in your group program for the coaching and the questions and the interaction. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of being able to the structure in the group program is actually what gives you freedom. It's one of the other things that I teach in my program is how do you create a framework for each group coaching session? And so I have to give a sample of specifically what I recommend doing in that first session, because that's different than the other sessions. But then we walk through how do you create the framework for your group coaching session? And it's typically a pretty simple framework. It's like you need some way to open your group session. Right? So whether it's a check-in or a 2-word check-in or a 1-minute check-in or some type of opening activity, then you've got your focus where you share some information, then you've got some coaching, either just like kind of coaching the whole group at once or coaching an individual where everyone is benefiting. Then you've got some type of a wrap-up and a conclusion. What are they taking away? What's their next steps? What are they committing to? And boom, your group coaching session's over.
And I was introduced to group coaching, I don't know, about 12 years ago. And back then I was charging $550 per client for individual clients. And I started doing group coaching at $97 per member. And after a while I realized, and in my first group I had 8 people. And then from then on I always had 10 people. That was my number, or later 12. But I realized that, whoa, so in the same time I can double my income. So I gravitated more and more towards groups. So right now too, I work with 5 individual clients. But I was sick for a while, and this is a great strategy I learned while I was sick, that I was having individual conversations just like you, enrollment conversations. And then I would say, so I can help you with that. And it's $1,500 a month. And what I expected was that, oh my gosh, that's crazy, right? And most people would react that way. And I said, or I have an alternative. You can join my group coaching program, which is only $97 a month. So, wow, whew, thank you. And they would join my group coaching program. So I had up to 200 members in there. But my group coaching is a little different because I just do Q&A sessions and they get the content online. In the past, it was different type. But that works for, like 10, 12 people. You give them, yeah, you can work with me. It's $1,000 or join my group coaching. And they're like, whoo, thank you. Yeah, I will join your group coaching.
Yeah, the price juxtaposition, if you have your group program be your more affordable option, and then having that be the first thing that you offer in that consultation that's a great strategy. I'm glad you shared that tip. That's a great one.
Yeah, now that brings up a question too of, because what you said in your strategy sessions, Michelle, you offer the group first and then the individual coaching if, they want.
Well, and it really depends what you're looking to do. I get that, like when I was talking about that, like I literally did not want any private clients. So it was just like, this is what the offer was. So I didn't even want to say you could work with me for $1,000. But yeah, if you're offering that private first in a one-on-one consultation, if you are willing to, if you are willing to take on some private clients at a premium price point, is a great thing to offer first, because then just like E.G. said, it's like, oh, we could work together for, my year-long package is $25,000, or you could join my 10-week group program for $2,000. What do you think? Like it makes it's like, ooh, okay. That first number takes their breath away, and then when you have this more affordable, it's like you're going to go through the same thing just in a different format. It's like, yeah, sign me up. Yeah, super powerful.
What I learned also, which was stunning, because I thought 1,500 is a out there number that nobody will sign up, is that for some people it was like, okay, when can we start? And my heart was beating, and I'm like, holy crap, no. So that was
there's a certain percentage of you're always going to have a certain percentage of buyers that are premium buyers. Yeah. They want the best, they pay the best, that's who they are, they've got the funds to invest. So it's, I love being able to have those two ways of working with clients for sure.
Yeah. And I also learned that we tend to judge people. So I speak to somebody and I assume that they are kind of broke or something from what I'm hearing. So I offered them the group coaching right away. And just recently I had somebody, and it was a she. So she said, I really don't like working in groups. I want to work one-on-one with you. And I told her my price, and I thought she will not hire me. She said, okay, that's fine. But later it turned out that she's a 6-figure income earner. But the way she was explaining stuff, it sounded like she's in this crisis and all this. But yeah, so sometimes people, you assume that they want group coaching, but it turns out that no, they want individual coaching. So it goes both ways. But it's good to give people choices.
Definitely.
Yeah, and the other thing is that you were talking about the structure and theme of the group coaching is that if you have that, it's going to be a lot easier to market it.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you don't have a focus for your group, and it's just there's no specific outcome that it's going to be achieved. It's just like, oh, join my coaching group to get coached. I mean, the truth is, most people aren't wanting to be coached, right? Most people, when they hire a coach, they hire the coach because they want that outcome or result that the coaching is going to provide, that it's going to help them address this urgent top of mind problem that keeps them up at night. When someone has experienced coaching, they can be like, wow, I loved working with my coach. My coach was great. And especially once someone has already worked with a coach, then they're like, ooh, I like the coaching. But especially for someone that's never worked with a coach before, they're not like, oh, I want coaching, I want coaching, I want coaching. It's like, I want to lose weight. I want to find, I want to have a great relationship. I want to grow my business. I want to be a more effective leader. Whatever it is that you focus on in your coaching that's what makes people want to join your group.
I always say that know what keeps your ideal clients up at night. And if you understand that, you will never be without clients. And one thing I realized many years ago, that nobody stays up at night staring at the ceiling in the dark thinking, oh my gosh, I really need a coach. No, they have a specific issue, problem, challenge. And if you market to that need, then they will join your group coaching or hire you as a coach. But what Jeanette was saying, that it's easier to market, it's even easier to market group coaching than coaching. It's hard to do a launch, or maybe impossible, I don't know, never seen anybody, to do a launch or a big marketing campaign for your coaching, but it's really easy for a group coaching program.
Yeah, and the other thing about that, and then I want to share a couple tips around the administer your group, because I think we're getting close to the top of the hour. There's something about when you offer a group coaching program, you're seen in a different light than just than doing private coaching, right? Because anyone can hang out their shingle and call themselves a coach, right? Anyone could just do that. Now, obviously, it's better to be trained in things, but in today's world, anyone can just say, yes, I'm a life coach. But to put together a group, right? It's just you're taking yourself and you're putting yourself one step above all the other coaches out there that are doing something, similar, because running a group program has a higher perceived value and prestige than just doing one-on-one work. So it's another little added benefit, and it kind of went along those lines of it's easier to market a group program. So the last thing the fourth step thing that we cover in the group coaching success program is how to effectively manage and administer your group, because that's something different. Like working with a one-on-one client and how you track their progress and make notes and stuff is very different than in a group environment. And so we go through kind of the low-tech ways to manage and administer your group, as well as leveraging technology depending on your personal preference and the size of your group. And the good news is managing and administering like both the sign-up process and collecting payments and like, do you need a sales page or not? As well as the things for running your group, the technologies to use. Like, for example, 2 years ago, Zoom wasn't around, and video conference calls were not super common. And now, like, everyone's using Zoom, and it really elevates the whole group experience, because now we're face to face. People can choose to turn off their cameras, but just creates such a different environment. So there's certainly different, kind of like designing your groups. It's just like sitting down and saying, okay, am I going to do it in person or by phone? If it's in person, where am I going to hold it? If it's virtually, which technology I'm going to use? How am I going to sign people up? How am I going to take, their payments? Like I said, and the good news is it doesn't have to be super complicated. You can start with some really basic methods, and then also be aware of how you can become more automated and use technology so you can step into that when you're ready to in your business.
Great. Yeah, that's certainly an essential part of it, that, the back end that you need to know. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. Great.
So is there any other questions or comments or things, Jeanette or E.G., that regarding group coaching that we should talk about before we get to the top of the hour?
Yeah, let's see if any of our other people have. I'm going to unmute people and see if you have any questions.
Yeah, questions. I'd also love to just hear takeaways. What was most valuable for you? Are you a little more inspired to start coaching groups? Do you have some steps that you see you can take?
Anyone?
So in your program that's coming up, if somebody is a general life coach, will you help them pick a topic, a focus?
Yeah, so in the first part of the program, designing your irresistible group and creating your signature coaching system, we do a lot of coaching around that. And actually one of the activities I recommend, and this is so valuable for the people that do it, is doing some target market research. Because oftentimes people will have a sense like, well, I know I like to work with, busy women in midlife, but they're not totally clear about what are those real top of mind urgent problems that keep your ideal clients up at night. And so we show our participants and guide them on how to do the most effective type of target market research. And the cool thing is the coaches that actually do it, the people that they do the target market research with oftentimes end up becoming their first group coaching participants. So doing that target market research is actually lays the foundation, both for you to be able to create effective marketing materials and be able to use the language that your ideal clients are using, but also you're talking to potential clients in a really informal, non-threatening way. And once you discover what those problems are, it's easy to circle back and then invite them to be part of your group program.
Great. Marcelina, do you have a question?
Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've been leveraging the technology, so I've been doing some exercise and listening to you at the same time. I've been doing group coaching for a while, meaning this coaching.
Yeah, I don't think the walking with the Zoom on a cell phone, I think you might be losing your reception, Paul, because you're fading in and out. Or
yeah.
I'm not sure, Marcelina, I'm not sure who that was.
Yeah.
Side, in the process of trying to get them to do some business. So it's been a combination, and I haven't done that much of group life coaching, but rather group business coaching. When it goes to life, I then tend to go one-on-one. Just thought I'd comment that.
Yeah, well, and could you see how that you might be able to put together a group for the life side of thing, or have you just chosen not to do that up to this point?
No, that's what I want to do. It takes me a lot of time just managing 2 or 3 people in the life side. So it doesn't make economic sense to take up all your time and your capacity. I'm not trying to be bragging or anything, but if I want to help people and I can help more than one, why not?
And Michelle, this
That's right.
this is conducive to life coaching, you know, personal development, that kind of thing through group coaching, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think, you know, as a life coach, being able to offer groups is such a great way to go. And the key thing is just, you know, knowing what the focus is of that group. But what's great about that is you're choosing one thing. I mean, you could run a couple of, you know, you could have a group, if you're a life coach, and let's say you do, you know, you help people live there. Like I remember Thomas Leonard back in the day from coaching, you know, when he had like these things like the perfect life program. And it was, you know, addressing, you know, did the wheel of life and all of those areas. Like, let's say you're that kind of life coach and you're like, start off with your clients doing the wheel of life, and you address health and fitness and all the different relationships and money and whatever. You could do your group coaching programs on just one slice of that wheel of life, right? So you could have a 4 to 6 week coaching group just on, you know, getting your money on track. You could have a different group program just on health and wellness. You could have it be a year-long program, and, you know, every month there could be a different topic. So there's a huge, wide variety of ways that you could structure it and offer group programs in the life coaching arena for sure.
Michelle, in the beginning, how did you segment the interest of the life coaching side? What I'm trying to say is, if you're trying to segment people that are interested in probably marital problems, how do you separate them from those that have other kinds of issues?
Yeah, so like if you're talking about, let's say you have an existing email list, I would recommend doing something like where you're doing a free teleseminar or a webinar on that topic, so that's what good marketing does. It allows people who are interested to somehow raise their hand, right? So if you had a free ebook or a free report or a free teleseminar or webinar that was related to the topic that your group program is going to be on, people that are most interested will be able to raise your hand. So that's one way that you can segment. You can also do surveys, and, you know, depending on where you are with technology and like email list management, you can certainly segment your list upon interest as well, maybe even right as they opt in. But, you know, that's a more advanced strategy. I really like keeping it simple and knowing that by what you put out there, the people who are most interested will, you know, raise their hand and express their interest that way.
Can I share some might see it as a dirty little secret?
Sure.
Yes, please.
The way I put group coaching programs together is, before I say that, let me say marketing is a way to educate people, inform people about something, to let them get an educated decision about something that's going on in their head. So if your marketing is relevant to them, they will follow the lead, the path that you're showing them. If it's not relevant, they just move on and they go on with their days. But with your marketing, you're attracting the right people to your group. And I would start marketing a group, but I would just have the first module ready. That's it, first module. And the simple outline of the next maybe 11 modules. And then if I saw that 3-4 people start joining, that's when I start creating the rest of the modules. And usually I just create it right the week before. I don't create the whole program and then start marketing it. So if I want to coach somebody on marital issues, which actually I did, I used to be a relationship coach, then I would promote heavily a relationship coaching group setting, group program. And then if people join, then I develop it and run it. If nobody's joining, then I chuck it and maybe just change the title. But, that's it.
Yeah, and doesn't the target market research also is going to come into play, in finding the right people for those segmented groups?
And again, knowing your ideal client is key. And if you know what keeps them up at night, very easy to put together a group coaching package and just market or just inform them how your group program will solve their issue that keeps them up at night. Whether that's relationship or confidence or performance or overwhelm, whatever that might be. One of them, not all of them.
Right, exactly.
Well, Michelle, thank you so much for sharing all of these valuable tips and strategies for doing group programs. And as I said, your program is excellent and I highly recommend it to anyone listening. And we do have some gifts for you from Michelle. Again, the tinyurl.com/JKMS group. Go there and start your journey with Michelle. And any other comments before we wrap up today?
I just wanted to mention, if you're hearing me well, I guess I'm doing good use of technology. I've been on my cell phone all the time, and I'm in the Dominican Republic for your information.
Oh,
So
wow.
if you don't believe me, let me show you. Hold on.
All right, I'm not the only one with a messy office.
That's group.
Ooh, look at how beautiful that is.
You have
Well,
to
your
keep
technology is working
Marcel.
well, Marcelino, and glad you're here.
Yeah, talk,
Well,
Marcel, so you'll come up on the screen.
Well, come over anytime. And mind you, the mess here is not mine alone. it's my other partner, which is my wife. Well, thank you, Michelle. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Yeah, this is Paul. I just want to say thank you for everything. I'm at work right now, so I couldn't really talk too much, but everything was wonderful. Very good information.
Awesome.
Great.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks for coming, Paul.
Yeah, well, I just want to wrap up and say, Jeanette, thank you so much for having me, and nice to meet you, EG, and those of you that are here live, and those of you who are listening to the recording. Please take advantage of the free gifts that I have available over the next 2 weeks. And if you're feeling so called and would like additional training and support, we're opening up enrollment. Once a year, I do a 10-week boot camp with those live virtual workshops. And this is an awesome group coaching program, and enrollment's gonna open in about 2 weeks. So keep an eye out for that. If that feels like it might be a fit for you, would love to get to know you and support you a lot deeper in my 10-week boot camp.
Great. Yes, so take advantage of that, everyone. And thank you again, Michelle, so much for speaking to us today, taking the time during your big launch to talk to our groups.
Hey, you know, I got to practice what I preach. And marketing rule number 2, to fill your groups, you must campaign your groups. So part of my marketing campaigns is, you know, speaking virtually to groups of people this way. Like, I love it. I only have to get dressed. I'm wearing my sweatpants on the bottom and a nice shirt on top. Woo, I just gave away a secret. All right, well, it was great connecting with you all, and I hope to get to connect with you again.
Thanks, Michelle. Bye, everyone.